We'll be 7 minutes early now, but that's it. We're online. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world, and no one's going to be there because I said we're going to start at 15:15, so we could talk. What time's your postman come in?
My postman, which one?
The one that's going to be bringing your new goggles without any
probably. Well,
VTX.
I'm not home Thursday, and I've chosen a Royal Mail option on purpose because, in theory, it'll go to the post office, which allows me to pick it up after hours. So, in theory, end of play Thursday. I'll have a box that I can open and not use. Welcome to the world of product launches in FPV.
It's just been a shoddy launch all around, but it's interesting that some UK suppliers have got the best. That interests me no end.
That shocked me dramatically because two things. Number one, when you looked on the spec, there was no hint of FCC. So they used the word, sorry, not FCC, CE certification. They used the word FCC, and everyone was like, okay, well, there's no CE. None of the UK or European retailers listed pre-orders either. They didn't do it. They just didn't. So everyone's like, oh, it's only going to be US, which makes sense when they only said FCC. And then suddenly Tuesday, everyone's going like, we've got it here. It's here in hand. We're just not allowed to sell it until, Monday. They were saying that we're not allowed to sell it till Wednesday. So that's it.
Wow.
Amazing. So to be fair, I cancelled my order via the US. They were very good. To be fair to the guys at the Rotor Riot, they are well on their customer service. I will give them that on the emails and everything. But it's launching without the VTX, which makes it as much use as a chocolate teapot. It's a funny launch. It really is. Okay. That isn't the issue. I'll be honest. I've just put a video on this and I was trying to be calm in it because I was ready to literally go nuts on this subject. And it was, look, it's not that things aren't aligned. It's that they're not communicated. This could have been really simple. On Monday, there should have been a message saying, look, everyone, Wednesday, the goggles are going to launch, but the VTXs are a week behind because of the mess of the global supply. They've taken longer to get out of China. You could make up any old nonsense, right? It doesn't matter. And they could have just said, look, we'll hold your order until the lot comes or we'll ship the goggles on day one. We found this out yesterday because I put a post and they replied to that post, not a post saying this is what's going on. And the irony is I put a post basically doing their job for them. And that's the irony of this. And it's just, it is a crap show. And I am beginning, I wonder what they're trying to hide is my concern. And I sincerely hope there isn't. I sincerely hope I'm wrong. But there is something that's landed in my head today, which is all the reviews are set to go live. No one knows when, but we believe tomorrow is embargo day. So the reviews will go live. If they go live tomorrow on the same day they're shipping out from the people who've paid for pre-orders. So those videos are going out after people have the chance to cancel their order.
I started early.
That is an interesting thought, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? If the videos had gone live today, now this could all be timing, and I hope I'm wrong, but I am sitting here thinking the embargo is potentially, the videos could go live tomorrow and it would all be fine. But generally, and Bruce, you normally agree with me on this. You would usually have the video for pre-order day, not postage day. Do you know what I mean? You have the marketing in place in advance, not literally on the day you're shipping the product out the door, because we still don't know what we're buying. We do not know what features it will or won't have.
No, I've just checked, and analog is still working, so I'm not worried.
You're not worried. But I might be being a bit cynical on that thought, but I have just sat here and thought, by the time a lot of people have seen the videos, those who pre-ordered have probably been posted, which means you won't be able to say, "Can I cancel, please?" Just my cynical brain at work once again. I certainly can't be their best friend.
Yeah, but that surely, I mean, if that were the case, that would be the end of Fat Shark. Surely, you couldn't do that. That would be the end of him. Must be.
There's a lot of things you can't do, but people do.
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah. All
And
right.
that's why we have OnlyFans channels.
yeah. I'm not saying
There are things that people shouldn't do,
I'm
can't
not
do,
saying it's
shouldn't do.
anything nefarious or anything dodgy.
Oh, hello. Love Ben's got problems with his HIV. How do I get rid of Love
Okay,
Ben?
fair enough, Love
There
Ben.
we go. Chill. Bye.
It's
There we are. Love Ben.
it
That's the
could
whole
be
problem. That's
it
why
could
it's
just
got
be
that
that
problem.
it's not fully featured. It did that, but I still think a video should have gone out today. That's what should have happened. Postage tomorrow, videos today.
Yeah, well, maybe they told the people making the videos that I don't know, the video, the release day was sometime next week, and they've moved.
Yeah, they've not given them a lot of time.
unsaid.
I do know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the timing has been low on it, but I don't know. I'm very cynical because of the way the whole thing has been handled, and it's all communication. It's all talk to the bloody people who you're asking money from. It's really that simple. Send them an email going, hey, thank you for your $700 pre-order. We're aiming to ship at some point in the end of June. We'll be in touch closer to the time. If you've got any questions, let us know. It's not
If
hard.
only we had this global network of computers we could use to talk to each other. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
It's do you know, this is genuine. Fat Shark have said nothing since the day that original video from JB went out. There's not been a statement. There's not been a comment. There's not been there's been zero. The video went out. Pre-orders went up. That's weird.
Yeah, but don't forget they did put out that secret video that they should never have released. Yes. So, it's a bit like I was working for a successful company and decided to branch out on my own because I realized I could make the whole thing much cheaper.
And I see those same people have now got a cure for diabetes and all sorts of things.
Yeah, do you know what? It's amazing the work they've done, isn't it, Bruce? You know,
who would have thought a computer-generated voice would be that life-changing for so many people?
Yeah, absolutely. Wolf's talking lots about Wingcopter. They've had some amazing orders, some absolutely amazing orders.
It's the time for industrial commercial drones right now, with everything going on over the eastern side of the world. There'll be a lot of money being thrown around.
Yeah, there is, but this isn't the delivery space, and the delivery space in both America and Africa. But what I'll say about the African
delivery, Gary, is just what you're delivering is the difference.
True. Yeah, true. Yeah, true. Yeah, you make a good point. Well made. Yes, that's right.
Parcel, send text. Does it really change? Weight is weight, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So here's one for you, just a slightly different subject, but still about dropping things. In the UK, you can now no longer drop anything, even under your PDRA 01. So PFCO used to be able to drop things. So you could do like a baby reveal, ticker tape. You could do the drop, no problem.
Baby reveal. That's not.
It was a boy.
It was a boy.
I'm glad they found that.
Ticker tape. I did say ticker tape. Cool. But so for example, you used to be able to drop stuff under the old PFCO, but now you can't do it under PDRA 01. However, Article 16, you can do the toffee dropping. So I can go into my shed, get my believer, turn it into a toffee bomber. That's perfectly fine under Article 16. Commercially, well, not commercially, but if I want to drop anything else, I can't do it.
Well, water and finely divided sand, as I always say. There's certainly been. Yeah, well, that's good.
I've gone to the CIA and I've complained. I've probably put my neck on the line a little bit.
I want to drop babies from helicopters, and you're not letting me do it anymore.
Yeah, I used to. I've done it loads of times.
It's been fine. We've only had one.
Dovran's Toffee Bomber is a model airplane that you would fly over a Fate or something, and it would drop sweets out, generally on little parachutes. But you know,
Or did you use parachutes? We just dropped them. One of the kids was screaming when they got hit.
You do not do it when above a Fate. So what you do is there's a particular area where there's no one there. It flies over. As it drops the sweets, the kids then can run out to go and find them. We don't drop them. You don't do it where you fly over a Fate and drop them. That's not how.
I wish someone had documented this earlier.
We did.
I can see this being the thing of a video, Bruce. We want to see the outcome on both sides.
And if you are dropping something with by parachute, then you should know that RG Pilot has the ability to work out the drift on the parachute, having taken into account the wind on the aircraft in flight. So it can give you a little go at it.
Sorry, say that again.
It'll drop. It'll release the thing. If you tell it where you want it to go, it'll take into account the wind in effect on the aircraft, but you've got to have given it the parameters for you can't just drop any old parachute. You've got to say it falls at X meters a second and
What about wind shear?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to get it roughly there. That's
astounding, really, when you think about it. Because Ardu, right, is amazing, Ardu plane, because if you take away GPS, it'll do due reckoning. So GPS jammed areas, it'll do its due reckoning. Then it can do this. Oh, well, we'll estimate where we can drop the parachute to get to the right point. That's just bonkers.
That's pretty cool, isn't
it? Not only is it cool, it's open source. It's open source. This stuff is open source. It is absolutely astounding. There's no... I suppose it could be
bells.
This has great application in the Eastern Theatre of Conflict, doesn't it?
What, dropping cheese?
Especially when the GPS is blocked.
Yeah, the dead reckoning side of stuff, yeah.
You imagine, though, how much a commercial flight controller would cost with the Ardu firmware like that? Can you imagine how much something's going to cost? It'd be astounding.
That brings me... unfortunately, our man Philip had to go to a meeting. I wanted to join him to discuss. One of the things I wanted him to discuss was the current cost of stuff, because stuff is costing a lot. So the lower cost autopilots is almost becoming a thing of the past. They're creeping up to meet their commercial rivals.
It's funny, people have been asking me about why the Cube has gone up so much, doubled in price, and it has now doubled. And, I've been saying, well, look, guys, this is the cost of buying hardware. Now, there's a very good video actually on this on the Asianometry channel where they're talking about what the current issue is in the STM32, because this isn't what is cutting edge. It's what we call leading edge process and manufacturing, and all of the investment over the last few years is all in cutting edge. Leading edge is pretty much at capacity and they just can't go any further, but no one wants to put money into leading edge because it's all of the lower cost. So you've still got all of the same setup costs as predominantly a cutting edge fab, but you're only going to be making leading edge gear. And there are companies buying a lot of used equipment at the moment to try and bring more fabs online. But the current thinking is the shortage could be to 2024 for the STM type of stuff on 90 nanometer, all of that size and the irony is there's going to be a complete glut of stuff at the lower end, 4 and 5 nanometer, where all of the money's been going in, and Intel are opening 5 fabs, TSMC are opening fabs, but that's all the very bleeding edge, not what
time to get into e-waste, start recycling those old washing machine controllers. That's where the money is.
Bruce, you're not wrong. What is the recovery process on an STM32? The older stuff is pin package, so that's fairly straightforward. The F7 and the H7s are BGA, but you're only talking a stencil and a reball, aren't you? And I think there could be very good money to be made on that side of things moving forward.
Well, it's even cheaper if you just get a laser etcher and you just get any BGA package, sand it flat, and just write on it what you want, and then sell it on eBay.
Follow them all the way.
You know, and look, in FPV, we bin a lot of stuff, and the chances are the MCU is fine. You know, if you take an ESC, if you take a 4-in-1 ESC, it's got 4 MCUs, 4 motor drivers, and a bunch of FETs. You burn one of the ESCs out, the motor driver's probably fine, and all the MCUs are fine, yet we're binning it. You know, it's...
And you've probably got a small fortune there.
Yeah.
But it'd be well above my pay grade to do anything about it. Well above my pay grade. But a nice learner for you and Bruce there. You know,
it would be an interesting business model. Is, as Bruce has said, recycling waste. It's being able to get access to the gear because it's the cheaper, smaller appliances you're going to find those products in. It's not, you know, most computers don't have an STM32 on the motherboard for any like sundry tasks or anything like that, unfortunately. It is, you know, hi-fi stereos, Walkmans, mini disc players, you know, all the cutting-edge tech.
Cassette decks. Record players,
mini displays, gramophones.
The STM32 in the gramophone is a particularly unusual model. You want to get your hands on one.
That's right. It was gramophones. What everyone had the big wooden boxes in the living room, wasn't it? That's a gramophone. Yeah. The Doverans are talking about dual use for that that parachute dropping thing. Well, it's all part of the landing into wind for deep stall landing stuff. So that's where it comes from, because that has to change where it puts the deep stall as the wind varies as it comes down. So that's where that came from. And a byproduct of that was it's also very good with parachutes. So yeah, dual use, but then the whole thing is dual use, isn't it? Really, every autopilot, unfortunately, it's just some would be better than others at it. But it's so that was the thing with that. So Wolf saying about chip shortage in Mercedes, right? Let's get this up here while I'm thinking. Oh, while I'm trying to arrange windows or tabs. What about coaxials then? That opened up a can of worms for Nordic, hadn't it? Or do we not care?
Are they actually shipping anything? Do they make anything, or are they just a render farm?
They use other people's gear.
Are you talking about the one where it's in X8 configuration and the paint?
Yeah.
Is that
or even a 6? Anything with 2 motors, one motor on top of another.
Interestingly, right? I don't see how they can even apply the patent, because let's face it, we've been doing it for years. Absolutely, you can go back 8 years, and these things have been around.
Well, the original one was from 2009. The patent was granted in 2009 that they own. They own by virtue of the fact that they bought a company called Air Robot, and Air Robot had that patent. And I expect Wolf.
How long do patents last? 17 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not long, is it? It can't have long to run.
So they ain't got much time left.
But it was in the DJI flight controller software. It's been around for years and years. But when you read it, it says shrouded. Theirs says shrouded. So they're talking about ones that are inductive fans, are ducted. They're protected. They're not talking about the ones that are in the open, as I understand it. So if they're not got any kind of protection, they're not patenting that. They're patenting the ones where it's for protecting. The blades are in some sort of protection. I could be wrong.
According to Wikipedia, some of the first patents around coaxial designs were like in the 1800s. So there's lots and lots of prior art and prior thought about it. So yeah, and various helicopters and that US thing in the Navy, but there's a coalition. I think I forgot we did speak about it last week, but there is a coalition of grown-ups now preparing to properly stand up against this one, and apparently it's already been defeated in Japan. So it will come as no shock. They tried to enforce it in Japan, and tried to get the same patent in place in Japan, and the Japanese said no way. So K50, that's it, Matt. Yeah. So I think they're in for a little bit of hurt. I think this is the last dying kicks of Nordic Unmanned.
Yeah, patents are only a right to sue. They don't actually have any value other than the fact that you can sue someone who tries to infringe it, and then the courts decide whether your patent is enforceable. So it doesn't necessarily mean you can just go out and make lots of money. You've still got to bring the courts into it.
It's funny. I was reading. Do you remember Blend Tech, or Will It Blend, the YouTube channel that used to blend technology? He got very big at one point, and I was reading about him, and he had the same problem, Bruce. He had the patent on a few parts of his blender, and basically some companies ripped it off, and it took nearly 10 years for him to get it through court and resolved, and he won. But that other company got to sell the products for 10 years on the market.
Yeah. Then it can be a Pyrrhic victory, because it's only a judgment you get, and then they've already made their money and spent it, so they can just wind up the company, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, and especially if it's Chinese, or just someone who just comes in and knocks a cheaper copy version out.
Yeah, absolutely right. I wanted to show these. Go window. That'd be better. Let's do it like that. These Zulu 82. This has got me very excited. I get stupidly excited about things like this. Zulu 82 is the Zephyr 8, and the Zephyr 8. This track's not going to show. It's not just come from the middle of the ocean there, whatever they call that bit of seaside. It's come from Yuma, which is up over here, and flown across America, and is now currently just off Cancun. And earlier, that bit of weather there was right on its track. Now it's up at 67,000 feet, but I think I'll try and persuade them to tell me, but I think that was avoiding the weather or the top of it. And who knows what it is going to do, but it took off on the 15th of this month. And if it beats 330 hours in the air, it's beaten its own endurance record. So it's been an absolute pleasure watching this. Maybe, just maybe, it's based, whilst it's come from Yuma, the company, it's Airbus run it now, but it's ex-Kinetic, and they're mostly in Farnborough on Boscombe Down, those people. Wouldn't it be absolutely amazing if it came across to Farnborough, which is in 2.5-3 weeks' time, in 2010. Well, I'm ranting on a bit here, but it was exciting. The reason I'm ranting is because in 2010 there was a big American hall reception that we're all at, and when we were at it, the Kinetic bloke said, "Oh, by the way, we've just beaten the Global Hawks endurance record, not by a day or two, but by a week." Everyone was like, "Way!" So it seems to me that they're lining that up for something like that again. But who knows? Who knows where it's going to go?
So
next.
it's BV loss then.
It's somewhat BV loss. Yeah, it's somewhat. I guess it depends where you're looking from. I mean, it'd be line of sight from the moon for half the day, I suppose. But yeah, no, it's very.
Did you see New Zealand's just sent a rocket to the moon?
I did see that. Yep. Indeed. And that's, punching above your weight there, aren't you, down there?
Well, no, because it's an American company now. We sold it, and so America runs it. So it's really just, yeah.
Oh well. Well, look, there's some weather to the south. I'm wondering if they're going to send it to the equator. I'm wondering that. But there's the itch and the weather that's always there. So maybe not.
I can see your house from there, Gary.
Yeah, hang on. Let's see what's it doing here. We've got power. That's what it's doing. There's my house is here. There's my house there. Let's see my house. Oh, what's it going to do? Oh, let's see if it it doesn't name it. But if you were to look on Open Street Maps, you'd see that says the Drones Club, and that disc there is Vertiport Africa. That's the landing zone. So you would see that on
visible from
Street Maps, visible from space. So yeah, all right. So that's that.
Has he gone to sleep again?
I think
no, he's still awake. It's all right.
Is he? He's breaking something. He's getting ready to. Pre-break the goggles that I have.
No, I'm just checking my messages. I've been keeping an eye on the FCC filings about what's going on at the moment as well, but we've not really had anything on the FCC side of things. But I've been keeping an eye on them just to try and see what if anything interesting is being posted. Let's say.
Well, are they trying to? I mean, is this bodged launch of all this FPV gear to try and get ahead of anything DJI might be putting out, or they think might be putting out?
It is odd. You could have put
It's
another
odd,
2 weeks on
isn't
it. You could have put,
It's
you could have
odd.
just said 2 weeks, first week of September, second week of July. That's it. Everything will be ready. Stock will be in place. Job done. I do
'Cause
wonder.
if you're having to ship stuff, if you did have that order come in from America, you'd have paid much more duty on two,
Yeah.
and much more shipping on the two orders.
I'd have been about £200 over the UK pricing by the time it happened. Now, I was willing to do that based on if it wasn't available in the UK, because that's just the price you pay. However, because it is available, it's made a save. I do wonder why companies rush like this. Okay, the reality is there's a huge amount of hype, a huge amount of interest, which is good because look, if it delivers, it's another good thing. But why the pre-orders? Why the rush?
Very dodgy.
It is, as you say, there's a hint to say they're trying to cover off something or get money in or something,
Absolutely.
But then
Yeah,
again,
no,
how many are they going to sell? 500.
hardly
Let's
hardly
be
any,
honest.
really,
It's
in the
not.
big scheme
It's
of
not
things.
big numbers in a product like this at day one. Even if
And
you're
they
making
haven't
yeah.
But I was going to say they haven't approached you at all, Bruce, or they've not, or as you, he's
I've
going to go.
not
"Here's
heard
mine
anything.
now."
No, I don't have any. I'm afraid.
I've heard there's 3 people. There are
and
3
and
people.
2 of them are Joshua Bardwell.
And 2 of them are JB. Yeah, no, 3. I think I've heard 3, but it's looking like 5. There's been some other leaked stuff. It sounds like they're ignoring JB. Everyone else they're putting it into is the big name hypes, Mr. Steel, to get the impact.
Maybe at this stage they don't want too much objective input. They want more hype creation and more fanboy and more rack it up. You should be having these are fantastic, rather than someone perhaps like Ian and myself who will take a more considered view in light of the strengths and weaknesses.
And I'm happy for it to not be finished. I'm not going to sit there and say don't buy this if there are features missing. What my concern is how bad that is, and that's the level of, if you buy a product and they're open and say, look, it's early days. Yes, we could have had it in behind closed doors another 3 months and not have access to it, but we've put it out now, and this is what we're going to be doing. But again, the key to all of this is communication. The key to this is talking to the community and explaining to them what you're trying to do, and that's not what they've done here. And half of the reason there's been so much hype is because of the lack of clarity. Then again, is that the plan? It's worked.
It's
I can't be their favorite person, put it that way.
No, but no one's going to trust them again, are they? If this continues to go wrong like this, then they really have screwed the pooch. They're plainly not selling the number of teal drones that they thought they would. You'd think that
it's either that or the product is very, very good, and all of this will fade away into nothing.
True. Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that.
They could be just sitting there going, "Wait till it's out. Don't worry about the noise. Wait till it's out."
Yeah, people will buy on value and performance. And so we'll have to see. But what does it mean for HD0? I mean, HD0 has got a very strong, very powerful core of supporters, but even they will probably drift away if this offers a better value proposition and better image, better performance.
I don't think it affects them because that was always there with DJI. I think it affects the DJI more than HD0 because that same issue was there, Bruce, with DJI, wasn't it? A different system, better image quality, and so forth. I don't really know how many people weren't going DJI because of the lack of full OSD. I think it's been an annoyance, but it's not enough for people to go, I'm not buying that. I think it's what it does to DJI is the big problem, actually.
I think a lot of people didn't buy DJI because it was DJI.
Yeah.
And and the same goes, I mean, those people may buy the shark bite, fat shark, whatever the thing, this new thing, snail walk. They may buy that because it's not DJI.
Yeah. Yeah. There's well, we don't think it's DJI.
Well, if they bring out an analog version of it, I'm in.
Yeah, it's good for FPV. At the end of the day, 3 players is good, and then we'll see what DJI come back with. And Orca, maybe they do technically still exist.
I wouldn't hold your breath on Orca. The other thing is that we're looking at RF. If these guys have got access to baseband modification, then the likes of HD0 who don't will never compete on a penetration, distance, performance, RF performance perspective. So again, I think a lot of people that are hardcore HD0 now may look at the system and say, it may have more latency, but then I'm not a hardcore racer. I just want a really good FPV experience. And if this provides a more shrink-wrapped, ready-to-go experience with better video, better performance, I'm in. So I'm concerned a little bit that HD0 may feel quite a bit of a hit from this if it's as good as advertised.
Yeah, because Carl's doing something very different, and that whole baseband thing is interesting. That's a conversation in itself with how they're doing what they're doing and what they're doing. And Carl isn't even encoding that way. That's why he doesn't need to do that. But it is interesting that all of the roads on this land back at the Chinese government. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. And actually, is it a sign of where the West goes wrong? Is it a sign of, they created a part of the Chinese state-owned telecoms and said, go and make a chip for smart devices because we want Chinese chipsets in all our smartphones over here. We don't want that Qualcomm nonsense. We don't want people having iPhones. We want stuff. I'm not going to say why they want it. We can all probably guess, but they want stuff that they have access to and have play with. But from that, they've developed some pretty interesting core technology. And is the problem with the West that we're too afraid to let people in and have a poke around on some of this stuff, because they're well ahead on the wireless video. The Chinese drone manufacturers are in a different league to everyone else on wireless video now.
Yeah, and I saw a couple of videos I was looking on the weekend, and when you look at how DJI performs in low RF signal strength environments compared to HD0 and analog, it is just so apparent how that baseband technology gives them, I would say, almost an order of magnitude better performance in those weak areas. And so it's very difficult, I think it'll be very difficult for Carl to sell against a product that will have a good solid 4K of range and work reliably behind buildings and bandos, all that sort of stuff. It's a big ask because Carl's stuff really is a generation behind. It is a first generation digital, whereas all the others are now second generation.
It's interesting, actually. There's been a lot of comments this week about the new DJI OcuSync stuff for filming that launched with the Ronin a few weeks ago, and that is blowing people's socks off. And it's all based off the same technology, and all they've had to do is up the latency a little bit. We're talking 60 to 100 milliseconds, which means they can pump more data, and the image quality is that much better. It wouldn't be ideal for FPV, but the FPV system straddles a very fine line. We want ultra low latency, but as a result of that, you've got to drop the quality to a point to allow the system to be able to do what it needs to do. But if you put a bit more latency in, the image quality goes through the roof, and literally through the roof. And this wireless system is allowing like 4 kilometers on set HD video and control for high-end cameras. And there's no one in the camera industry that's had it that good before.
Finally, work from home for camera operators.
Well, you mentioned that they've done the right things with their telcos or their telecom portion of things and supporting their own companies. Now, I was looking at Omnipresent Eyes, and I've just caught a tweet from our dear friend Kevin, who's bringing in a robot dog, and the dog was held in customs in America because China likes to do that thing. So they wanted to verify it wasn't a replica of something made here in the States when it's the other way. But the engineer
They're probably checking for rabies and stuff as well, wouldn't they?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Of course. Make sure it's got its
There'll be plenty of bugs in it. It'll have bugs all over the place.
Well, the thing is, he's already, of course, because they pissed him off. So that's one thing you don't do is piss Kevin off. So he's gone and got one. But he's had a good look at all the code already, and he's already beginning to discover interesting things in there. And it is the same, perhaps same model as DJI was originally for getting stuff, very high-tech stuff, into labs all over America. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, I mean, there's a playbook, and I believe the chap who created the company, I cannot remember the name of the robot dog manufacturer, but it's the other one, not Boston Dynamics. He's ex of DJI, and he's broken out to do this. So the guy that's making this dog has come from that pattern. Now Peppermint says, "Hi guys, the info on the Zephyr cleared up in the show, but another info on another channel using Skyglass." I don't know what that means. Does anyone know what that means? You don't know Skyglass? I don't know what that means.
Did you know that Hobby King Australia is closing down?
Is it? No, I didn't know that.
Shutting their warehouses in Australia.
Oh, really? So is that effectively it then?
Well, I don't know. They've probably still got Hong Kong, but it is interesting. And I don't know what's going to happen in the USA with that big fine being thrown at them.
Yeah, no, it's not the Sony Abo. It's not that one. I'll find it in a minute. I'm going to look at Hobby King. I'm going to do what Ian.
So what dog is KF bringing back in? Is it something that looks like Spot?
Yes,
it does look like Spot. Yeah, it does.
These Unicheers direct sales prices, deal prices. So he's bought one of these in, is he?
He's bought one in. It's been around. It's not Wave Share. It's not that one.
I've seen this, and you know that the Chinese are going to copy it. The Chinese, of course, do respect all patents and all software. We know this. They do respect it 100%. You know,
I don't think that it
was there ever any doubt. I don't think there was. Robot dogfighting. That's a big thing. I'm going to start a channel. Robot dogfights.
We have a big problem with dogs hunting dogs here. Big problem. They come up because where we live is it's just off the highway by a few kilometers, and so they come up in taxis from Durban. They release the dogs, and they bet on when a dog's going to catch a wild animal first, and they cause a lot of problem going through the fields, breaking all the fences down.
There's no difference to the fox hunters in the UK with all the
true. It is. That is true.
We don't have fox hunting here much now. What it is, we have hare coursing. That's what our biggest problem is here in Lincolnshire, and that's where they get the dogs. Hare season, they just let the dogs go, but they take their four-wheel drives and literally just go across the farmers' fields. They intimidate the farmers, everything.
So you end up with paddocks filled with broken down Range Rovers.
Oh yeah. Or where they go where they don't. Literally, these people are that mad. They'll just drive through a hedge to get to a road, but if there's a ditch on the other side of the hedge, it's like they end up like, oh, it's just crazy.
Unitree robotics Go 1. That's what he's getting.
Every dog needs a tree.
No, it's not even. It's not even with him, and he's already finding people with schematics and all the rest and all the breakdown. So yeah, and he's got. I know he's got well into the software. And all sorts of things.
Do this for me though?
No, not without the right firmware. They'll do whatchamacallit, spiders and things, but there's all sorts of things on there that it won't do yet. But he's well on top of it. Now, what I was going to do was I say, let's take a browse through Hobby King's website, because that's just what Ian would do. Because I haven't looked, because you said they're going. I haven't looked at Hobby King's site since forever. And I used to look. I used to buy loads of stuff here. What should we look at in here? Should we look at? They got controllers. Oh, FPV goggles. That's topical, isn't it? Will they have your goggles, Ian?
I can read you the email. It said, due to rising local costs and shifting market interest, our Australian warehouse will no longer be filling orders from September 30th. Stock is no longer being replenished, and some categories are selling. They're having a bit of a sale by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Looks like it on here. Yeah. Yeah, they're gone. I can't even think what I want to buy from them anymore.
We used to buy batteries. They were great for the nanotech and zippy batteries.
Zippy lipos. I've still got some zippies here. Yeah.
Is that sort of like a zippy? No, that's a turning. Here we go. What do we
Tungies
call
are
them?
pretty
Bolts?
good. The nanotechs. Yeah.
Nanotechs. Yeah, I had some of those.
But that's LiFo. You want to go lipo?
Yeah. Yeah, the nanotechs are actually interesting because some of them were really good and some of them were just like a little, but you get them in the puff a week later. They were terrible. Some, especially the smaller ones, weren't very good at all.
Yeah. Rhino, that was a brand that was, I don't know what a good price for it is now.
Click on lipo, guy.
Yeah, we're on lipo now.
Oh, right. It's frozen our side.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we can't see any movement.
Oh, all right. I shall share again. All I see batches. Oh, yes. It doesn't seem to join along. There it is. Let's go that one. Are we moving again? There we go.
Yeah. There we go. Lipos are expensive now too. Anyway, the batteries have gone up.
Yeah.
Only the price.
Yeah.
Zippy. There we are. There's Zippy. And with that's right. With always the 65C, I bet it is as well because they're quality. I bet it's 65.
No, I had a quiet chat with a gentleman from Hobby King who said, don't worry too much about the C ratings. Most manufacturers just look at their competitor's product and add a 10 to the C rating before they launch their next one.
Yeah.
Like the 75C pack here, perhaps.
Pricing's okay, but it's shipping them in. In the UK, they don't have a warehouse. It used to be okay.
Did they get rid of the European warehouse? They had another UK. They had a UK warehouse, didn't they? For sure.
I think they had a bonded warehouse in the UK where they used to keep. They used to ship into the bonded warehouse and then ship from there. Whereas I think EU had a proper warehouse.
Look into spyglass. It showed you every doing 25 knots. Yeah, well, it's still it's been down to 10 knots, Pepper. Let's go.
It did spike up to a couple of hundred, didn't it?
It did spike up to a couple of hundred. Yeah. It left Yuma and it's down off Mexico now, or Cancun, isn't it?
Just picking up the cocaine.
Well, of course, at that altitude, it's got a massive footprint that it can see. So it'll be looking at most of Mexico from there. That's for sure. Here we go. Let's get it back up again. There it is. So that's where it currently is. Oh, it's made a turn. Wonder why it's done that.
It'll probably make another one shortly because one good turn deserves another.
I wonder if it's going for the lettuce. Speaking. It's going through across the reporting points. That's what it's doing. Okay, you can see my mouse. So all it's got to do is get out 330 hours, and it's broken its records.
Can you show us a photo of it then? What does it actually look like? What is this thing? A big glider? What is it? What does it actually
basically
look like?
Basically.
Were you paying attention before, Mark?
I know.
No,
It's his effort.
You realise there's a test at the end of this stream. If you don't pass the test, you're not on again.
Yeah, it's hand launched as well. It was hand launched,
But do they catch it when it lands?
Is this something you would launch from a model club?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
all I need to do, what we're saying is, what I need to do is just get a 5-meter glider or an 8-meter glider, put a cube in it so it'll thermal itself, put a couple of solar panels on it, and chuck it.
I'm sure it was that easy. I'm sure it was that easy the way they've
Come
done
on,
it.
show us a picture.
Can't be any technology in it at all. It must be just super easy. It's this one. It's this one here. That's the version of it.
That was built at my model flying club.
Could have been.
I've seen that. I've seen that at my model flying club.
then yours is the club to join. We must all join it.
Is Maynard Hill working on this?
It was a smaller version I've seen at the club. You know, like 3 meters, but you know, same thing. It's just
just a big model airplane. That's all it is. It's got to be easy. It's got to be easy to fly something for 3 or 4 weeks. Human Model Gliding Club. That's right, Peppermint. Yeah, at the Human Model Gliding Club. It's pretty amazing. Pretty
cool.
I mean, the fact that it's got enough power to sustain itself overnight and then charge up again in the daytime for another go. Oh, it's pretty amazing.
Well, I suppose if the software though will be thermal hunting as well. So
no. It's above 60. There's no weather up there. It's above the weather. 67,000 feet right now. It's above the weather. There's no thermals involved.
In that case, then it can't be going very fast because the air would be quite
30 knots.
That's
30 knots,
isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, but there's no wind up there, so it doesn't matter.
60,000 feet. There's no wind.
Yeah. There's a little bit. I can't remember what it is. But
what altitude are jet streams at?
Below that, they're in the 40s.
Yeah, so my brain is now going, holy smokes. But also remember, what plane used to fly at that when it used to go across the Atlantic? Here's the top 100 people on it. What was it?
100 people, not 100 people on it.
Oh, yeah, was it? Well, it was
Dragon Rapide, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's about 120 passengers.
It
wasn't many passengers. It wasn't many.
No, it wasn't many at all. And if they had big, heavy luggage, it was hardly any at all. It was the 25 knot. Yeah, well, I've been, because you know me, I'm nerdily interested in these things. That's why I stood back up a Raspberry Pi to run Flight Radar 24 to get the business subscription. But it's because then you get better data. So anyway,
it's actually quite slow, isn't it? When you consider how rarefied the air is and how, you know, like with the commercial airliners in at 30,000 feet, they have tread a very fine line between transonic and stall because of
Yeah, well, that's just partly. So, you know, we've got the science of the solar panels being lightweight, flexible, and strong. We've got the science.
But they are closer to the sun, Gary.
Oh, they are closer to the sun.
There's no cloud.
There's no clouds. There's no cloud. Yeah, all right. So they've got some Banggood solar panels, flexible 75 watt Banggood solar panels, and a couple of brush motors, and away they went. I do know
a bit of clear that covering that we use, you know, so you can put some nice clear covering on it in places to make it see-through in places, you know.
It could be on ADSB Exchange, Andrew. I don't know. I don't know. It could be on there as well. What was I going to say? I was going to say, so the technology of the solar panels, then the battery systems required to keep it up there, the strength of the airframe to get its way through, bash its way through for that airframe. It must be like going, you know, those Mylar things that they fly inside hangars. So when it's microfilm, that's it. So when it's down in the big thick atmosphere, it must be like the microfilm aircraft in a hangar till it gets up to its operating spec, and then it can go all night. And I know that just like Ian, or that's what he told me anyway. I know that they did break the record before 2010. But on takeoff, when the 6 blokes were chucking it, it scraped a wingtip, and the wingtip broke off, but it didn't fall off the aircraft because it was attached by a bit of wire. There's a wire that runs all the way through. And the people overseeing the record attempt wouldn't let them have the record because they said the aircraft wasn't intact, even though it utterly thrashed the Global Hawk on that outing. So I believe that's why further away from the sun at night. That's right. I believe that's why they caned it for Farnborough 2010. And hopefully they're doing it again.
I mean, I wonder what permissions you need to chuck something like that up.
Well, there we go. Now then, here's our thing. So we all know about remote ID and stuff below 1,000 feet, that bit of airspace that nobody wanted, the great rush from UTMs to get in there and monetize that lower airspace. Well, there's an equal rush to monetize the airspace above flight level 660. It used to be a complete free-for-all above 660. Was the Blackbird and the U2 TR1s that were up there. But perhaps the persistent aircraft folks want that bit as well. So there's a battle below 1,000 feet and there's a battle above 66,000 feet for just that sort of a thing. And the sky is not going to be full of them. It's not going to be full of them at 66,000 feet.
Could you imagine the air procs from a Blackbird for flying past one of them?
Yeah, well, we had the TR1 guys come and talk to us, and we used to give them avoiding action when they were flying. They would do some sorties over the UK at high level, looking into Germany and into the edge of Russia. And they would park over England, and they were, once they're above 660, they turned off their transponder, so they become a primary radar contact. And the guys used to give them avoiding action because you have to. If it's a primary, we don't actually know how high the TR1 is, and we don't know how high the Cessna is either, with no transponder. So you have to give them avoiding action, and they just say, okay, looking. And then when the bloke came and gave us a chat, he said, do you know, when we're up there and you do that, we can't actually see England because of the sides of the cockpit. They can't actually see England. So it's okay. So,
yeah,
there's probably drones. There'll be a drone sighting sooner or later.
There'll be a drone up there. Well, what was that? What was it? The 777? You made a good tweet about that.
8,000 meters or something. 8,000. I forget.
No. The one on the ground, the one that clipped the other one.
Oh yes, the one that crashed into the other one. Yeah.
Yes.
In his blind spot, eh?
In his blind spot. Yeah, they, as you said, they could see a drone at 8,000 feet flying at 300 knots, but they can't see the aircraft they just hit taking off. So yeah.
I'm sorry. What, two airliners hit each other on tarmac?
Yeah, I guess one was. I don't know, but they were. Yeah, one was taking off and he clipped another one, and he flew on. Didn't even know he'd done it. Flew on, completed his mission, and didn't see him. And as Bruce,
I think Bruce Willis must have been involved in that somewhere along the line.
You reckon? Why is that? I don't understand.
It sounds like one of his action movies. What, the one that had the airport, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right, invented.
We are definitely in waffle mode. One other thing I thought that was interesting, that again will have some inside story on this one, which is this one here. I found it quite interesting that Quantum Systems are having their electronics made by this company in Switzerland, which would mean they'd be making an awful lot of autopilots for them.
And they'll be made of chocolate.
Keep away from the fire.
I've flown the Quantum Trinity F9.
I know several people that also go. They seem to be selling it quite well, and a couple of them got donated into Ukraine, didn't they?
I don't know about the ones going to Ukraine, but if they're anything like the ones that I know that have been to Ukraine before, they're still there in the crop fields somewhere. So I know a company that went over there, and I think two or three of them never came home. They just were in the crop fields somewhere.
I believe that part of the aircraft is an issue. So I've heard.
Well, what happens is, so if you point at the main props as well, the front two at the front, it's quite nice. The idea is quite good. However, it's completely overcomplicated because the front two and the back one all do this rotation thing where they tilt. So to take off, they'll tilt vertical, all three, and it'll go up. But the problem is with the front ones, they're completely belt driven. They're not direct motor speed.
Oh, on the tilt mechanism.
Yeah, it's or was. I don't know if it still is, but the F9s that I were flying, they're belt driven. So they've got this belt mechanism that tilts it with the motor. It's not a direct motor to the unit at all. However, it looked like in the early days when they were doing the tilt and the props spin up, the props were catching or something was going on and the props wouldn't always come out correctly. That was one niggle. Another one, their first versions, they had what they called the Big Dipper, which I now think is fixed. However, if you Google it, the Quantum Trinity Big Dipper issue, it's a pain in the neck because it takes off and it goes on its mission and it literally does this. Right? But you've got no control. So though you've got a transmitter, and you would think you would be able to do something and get yourself out of it. You cannot. It just goes into this Big Dipper. You can try and get it back home, but basically it's going to go in the field somewhere. You just don't know where, kind of thing, sadly.
Right.
Yeah. And they're not cheap either. They're not cheap, those things.
No. Well, especially with autopilots made in Switzerland. That's what I thought when I posted that. I thought, gosh, people are moaning how expensive the queues become. Imagine having your autopilot made in Switzerland. What's that going to do for the price?
I bet it would keep good time, though.
Yeah.
Well, what are they? 25? What are they? 25, 30K? They're not cheap.
Yeah.
But I would actually say to people, if you're looking at that or a Wingtra, go for the Wingtra. Personally, really? Yeah. Having seen both and played with both a little bit, I've had more time with the Quantum. But I would just go, no. Go get yourself the Wingtra. It is, in my belief, the better machine. The Wingtra's definitely got an edge to it better than the Quantum. Don't get me wrong, the Quantum's quite nice, but for the money, the Wingtra's just got that edge to it.
Yes. Well, that's all I had. So,
I just wanted to make a comment on that video I put up of the 172 doing the downwind touch and goes.
Oh, yes.
Interesting difference in attitude between the manned aviation community and the unmanned aviation community. Now, that couple of passes, I think it was unsafe. But a lot of people in the aviation community have come and said, oh, no, they could have been practicing go rounds and, it wasn't unsafe. But I think it was because they were flying contrary to the prevailing circuit at the time. And they said, but they would have called downwind for the runway so other pilots would have known. But then you've got to remember there's NORAD traffic as well, which is microlights and things could be using the runway. They won't hear those radio calls. The pilot's radio could be faulty. You can't rely solely on your radio. It's the Swiss cheese model for aviation safety. So anyone who flies against the prevailing circuit is in danger, is committing a high risk operation. And the manned aviation, I even had an email from someone who may have been connected with the flight school who said, you should take that video down immediately because you're just embarrassing the pilot and it's unnecessary and blah, blah, blah. And I wrote back, quite politely and said, the pilot's name wasn't mentioned, the time and date of the flight wasn't mentioned. There's no way to identify the pilot. Besides which, I think the pilot should be embarrassed by that particular couple of attempts at a touch and go downwind in a strong wind, and haven't heard back since. But a lot of the manned aviation community were there trying to sort of justify what happened. Whereas when we had the Lancaster and the drone, the hobby community just took that guy to the, just hung him out to dry. They were obviously not happy with the way a member of their community had behaved. But when a member of the manned aviation community gets it wrong, they seem to rally around and say, no, it's fine, don't worry. It's a different attitude.
Well, I think, but you can almost read you get away. It's a Swiss cheese thing again, isn't it? It's you get away with it. You get away with. I got away with that time. Got away with the next time. But you can see the line of the heaven forbid in the incident report. It was downwind. The aircraft arrived over the threshold with either one of two things, either with excess energy or the old model aircraft downwind trick thought it was going very, very fast because of the tailwind. The ground speed was relatively high and pull back, stalled. So you can read the incident report in your head. You just don't do it.
Yeah,
you just don't do it.
Well, the big concern to me was that we've had incidents in the past on calm days when we've had no red traffic, landing directly head on into traffic that's in the circuit. And we've had evasive maneuvers taken over the middle of the runway, one because two planes are about to hit each other because, one craft doesn't have a radio. And so you can't rely, especially in calm conditions, but it's even worse when you've got a prevailing wind, and you would fully reasonably expect that all the aircraft will be landing on one particular runway rather than coming the other direction. So, yeah, it's not unprecedented, and we have had near misses.
So wouldn't that be 241? Well, in the UK, we call it 241. It's reckless endangerment because you're flying against the circuit. So straight away, it's reckless because now you're going against the nominated circuit direction. And as you say, you're going downwind. So therefore, ground speed and everything's completely going to throw you. It just sounds to me like it would be like a 241 scenario if something happened, what we call 241 here. Yeah.
And Wolf and everyone's saying Louis and Donovan's. Hello there, Louis, by the way. Tokoroa Tower. Is it still there?
It's crazy, I tell you. Now, I've said I'll buy the tower for $1 and restore it to a safe and pristine condition that we can all be proud of. So the council has decided they're going to hire engineers to have it inspected to see if it's safe. And I'm saying, don't waste your money, because even if it's not safe, I will restore it to a safe condition. So we will make the assumption it's unsafe. So you don't need to prove it in an engineer's report. All you need to do is, once I've restored it, get an engineer to look at it and say, yes, it's safe. Why waste your money? But they're looking for excuses to pull it down. What they're going to say is, it's unsafe. It must come down now because it poses an unreasonable risk to public safety, even though it's on an airfield, which is a restricted space where the public are not allowed, under threat of trespass with a 6-month imprisonment and $5,000 fine. It's still unsafe. Yet we have streets in the main part of town which are cobbled with very smooth pavers. And at this time of the year, people are slipping over and breaking hips. And it's been like that for the last 20 years. But, no. We're going to get round to addressing that. But the tower must come down immediately. It's a ridiculous situation. It's all, in fact, one of the reporters here in the national media is actually following up, writing a story about the way the council has treated me when I've come to them with ideas and suggestions and notifying them of problems. I have always been marginalised all the way through, and they've got a wealth of evidence. So there's going to be a bit of a story going up about how the council's treated me. And that'll just, they don't understand the concept of institutional reputational damage, because they're just walking into these things. It's terrible.
But at least they're not tearing it down, because I thought they might just rush out and tear it down.
I wouldn't surprise me if they get an engineer's report that says it's unsafe. I wouldn't be surprised to go out there and find it gone. And they'll say, we couldn't delay it, so there's a risk to public safety. Even though in the last 20 years, not one person has been even slightly injured by the tower, but we've probably got at least half a dozen people with broken bones on the streets in the city, in the footpaths in the town.
Well, we shall all be watching with very great interest.
Shocking, isn't it?
For certain.
Yeah, local politics.
I mean,
it's the same the world over.
Well, here, so we had an RAF base called RAF Stenigot. So back in the day, RAF Stenigot had 4 big dishes. We're talking they were 20 meters across or something. And they were there for if there was ever a nuclear war, they bounced the radio signals off the ionosphere to talk to America and other allies.
Alloys, any old metals.
Any old metal. Well,
any old eye.
Yeah, any old eye. Iron curtain. That's all there. All the clues are there.
Those 4 dishes, which have been there for years and were a great piece of the scenery in Lincolnshire, they've been carved up because the landowner got fed up, even though they had a protection order on them. And although they've been blown off the mounts, they've been knocked off their main mounts. They've been left there. They had a protection order on them. They were cut up and destroyed because people just want things gone. It's just amazing. And these dishes were amazing to see. Luckily, I got some photos, a bit of a drone video of them, but yeah, it's just, so sad. Really is. These things just get trashed for no good reason. It's just...
Yeah. No, it's heritage, isn't it? We've got a bridge here that a farmer took down on the steam railway. No railway on it now, but on the old line of it. And people jumped up and down, but once he's moved all the stones and sent them everywhere, there's not a lot more you can do. And the fine was not all that great.
Yeah,
I was just
there's
saying.
nothing, you know, the most councils can do is wag their finger at someone. You know, once you've taken it down, that's it. There's not a lot they can do.
Yeah, it's the other strange thing is you probably saw my video where I was told that I can't film in the council chambers. And so I sent them the links to the Acts of Parliament and the rulings of the Privacy Commission, which make it very clear that I can film in council chambers. Now, there are 2 lawyers who are councillors in the council. So do you know what the council did? They didn't ask the lawyers. They have gone out for expert legal advice, paid money outside to get expert legal advice to see if I'm right or wrong, when they could have just asked the 2 lawyers for free, is he right or wrong? In fact, I think they did, and the lawyer said he's right. So they're shopping around to find a lawyer that'll tell them, oh, you're right, and Mr. Simpson can't record. Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah. And God knows how much money they're spending to do that. It's ridiculous.
That's kind of scary, isn't it? You know, this is how councils just waste.
Is this one person, Bruce?
It's basically, well, the mayor, and she's got a little group of supporters.
Yeah,
the mayor doesn't like me.
Me,
she's got a little group of supporters that she has under her wing, so that means that she can get anything done she wants. But so, yeah, it is basically a personality thing. I can't understand it. Everybody should love me. I'm so lovable.
And on that note, that's a good time to end it. Any more for any more? Has anyone else seen anything else?
This video is now flagged for disinformation.
Yeah, absolutely. Inaccuracies. Let's just put up for a last time. Let's put up Zulu 82. Of course, I'm going to love the call sign because I do indeed live in the Zulu nation of the Zulu kingdom. So,
were you in the movie, Gary? I did watch the movie. It was very good.
I can see that the mountain from my house. Does that count? It's steaming along there, 33 knots at 68,000 feet. But where, oh where has it gone? Having come from all the way over here somewhere. It's a long way. It's a long, long, long way.
I now want to know, I can launch a glider with a flight controller on it in international waters, because I couldn't launch it in the UK airspace.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could if you went out. Yeah, but if you could get something to 68,000 feet, then I think there'll be lots of people wanting you to come work from. It's amazing to get up there.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. There we are.
Starting work on the trebuchet this afternoon.
Well,
that's the ICBM back in a fashion.
Well, at least this is a slow-moving one. You know, it's not as quick as it needs to be.
It's funny you talk about upsetting people. Have you guys seen? Okay, it's not drone related.
Listen, we've got an expert talking now.
Yes.
Yeah, you were talking about councils. Have you seen Colin Furze? The guy in the UK.
Oh, what, with his digging the hole? And
yes.
Well, it started with the bunker. Now he's tunneling between the house, the shed, and the bunker.
Yeah.
And he finally got planning for it after the fact. He did it all and went, I did this. Do you have a problem?
But councils never do that in the UK, give you retroactive planning permission, do they?
They can. There's 2 rules. If it's been there, I think, for 7 years, they basically can't turn it down. So if you can, because there was that famous guy who built a castle and hid it behind bales, and he was on the 7-year one. He was trying, but you can retrospectively apply. But they can make you tear it down, rip it out, fill it in, whichever one is appropriate.
But how would they know it's underground?
They have literally built a tunnel network under his house. It's fantastic. It really is.
Brilliant. I've been watching that, and it's just astounding. And he's on rocky turf as well. He's not on soft ground at all. That's back-breaking work what they've done. It's amazing.
Yeah, but you know what YouTubers are like? We're tough.
Yeah, they'll have stuff. Right, now let's try again. Has anyone else seen anything else? Going once. Going twice.
Nothing at all. Not hearing
anything. There you are.
Oh,
there you are.
Tight underwear strikes again.
That would remind me of someone from like Emmerdale or something like that. It was. You were saying Darth Vader, and I was thinking, no, that's Emmerdale. Something like that.
Doesn't sound anything like Emmerdale. Hello?
No, not Emmerdale. I can't remember what I thought it was.
Your father, Luke.
It's more like the devil from the South Park movie, if anyone's seen the South Park movie.
Yes, yeah.
Hello,
or a little bit like Marvin, the paranoid android. little bit like that.
How are your diodes down your left
How
side?
your diet's done. Exactly, yeah. Life, don't talk to me about life.
I've got the
right.
brain the size of a planet.
There we go. We all know the lines. That shows how nerdy and dull we are. Dear viewer, wherever you might be in the world, we definitely better go now. Look after yourselves. I wonder if Zulu 82 will still be in the air this time next week. It'll be quite a thing if it is. It might very well be. I look forward to seeing you then. At the same time, same back channel. Cheers for now. Look after yourselves wherever you are. Cheers, chaps. Bye-bye. One click.